What's going on YouTube? Welcome to episode 50 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zero Elite and I just want to thank you all very much for tuning in today's video. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we got about a 26-minute episode. We're going to be picking up right where we left off, working on the corridors, the circular corridors, our main ones, and the saucer section. And today we're going to be doing something cool. We're going to be adding a second deck to our circular corridors in the saucer section. It's the first time I've ever done this, and I'm so excited to be able to show this to you guys because now we're finally getting in some of the stuff that I've been waiting ever since May to show all of you. So essentially what we're going to be doing here is looking directly up and building the gray line that's directly above this line. So that's your outline. And essentially just how we built this bottom row, we're going to be doing the same thing here. We're going to do this going all the way around. So we've got our placement, which is just literally one up from this row here. And this gray pattern here, as long as you're following this, you can't make a mistake. So we don't need to go to the pixel circle generator again. And we've got our template already set. And at this point, it's literally just going to be repeating the same process that we've done. And we're going 4 down, and on the 5th one is where we start building. So this way there's a 4 block gap. Actually, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, on the 5th one. Now I'm not going to build all this out live again. I feel like I did that the first time. There's not really necessarily a need to do that again. So I'm going to be doing this a little bit closer in the format of how I did the outline of the saucer section, where I'm going to build a section of it and then skip to where it's completed. But I'm telling you, as long as you follow that gray outline above you, it is impossible to make a mistake, and you'll be in good shape. So I'm going to start this out on all 4 sides. And we're going to get this thing going today. I'm actually getting pretty excited because there's some stuff I've been so I can't tell you guys how excited I am to show this stuff off because I've been trying to talk about it a little bit, but not getting into it too much because obviously I didn't want to run out of things to talk about in these episodes. But it's definitely really exciting because I feel like I'm really going to be able to have a chance to showcase some things on my build here that excuse me, I'm really going to be able to showcase some things I've never been able to do on other ships before because we just didn't have enough room to do it. Um, that's one of the things I'm just really looking forward to hopping into during the course of this build because you're going to see that during the whole course of this thing that there's just going to be so much more that we can do with this scale that we haven't been able to do in the past. In fact, that's actually the only reason why I would ever consider building a ship this size again, simply because of the amount of room that I have to work with. But then again, the downside to that is the amount of time that it takes to render all this, the entire build. It takes some time. Um, but I don't know. With some builds, maybe like the Enterprise E, that might be a good contender where I may, if and when that build comes up, well, not if, but when that build comes up, because I'm certain that I will build the Enterprise D at some point, or excuse me, the Enterprise E, because we're currently working on the D. But when I do build the Enterprise E, I'm certain that it's going to be it'll probably be this size because it would look funky if it was smaller than the Enterprise D, because the Enterprise E was definitely not smaller than the Enterprise D. So that could end up being a thing. But another ship like, I don't know, Voyager, which is something else that a lot of people have been asking for. And trust me, I see all the comments. The people are asking for that ship. I just actually commented on that yesterday that, Voyager right now is my #1 request. So everybody that's been asking for that ship, I hear you. But I'm trying to stick to my guns that I don't want to announce what my next build's going to be until we start getting towards the tail end of this one, because I really just want to focus on the Enterprise D and fleshing this thing out and getting it done and doing it justice. Because think of it like this: we've spent all this time building out this whole shell, it would be kind of a waste just to jump into the next build. I really want to take advantage of the room that we have available to us and just build a really awesome ship for everybody. And that's one of the reasons why I'm holding off for now on talking about what my next build's going to be. But once we do start getting towards the end of the Enterprise D, um, we're going to talk about that. So I'll just throw this out there. Those of you that are waiting for me to do Voyager, I think you'll probably be pretty happy with what I'm going to end up doing. But anyway, getting a little bit back what we got going on here. We're just slowly but surely working our pattern here, and we're not doing anything fancy. We're literally just repeating the gray line that's directly above us. That's our pattern. And as long as we're following that, we can't make any mistakes. Now, I could be wrong. I may do this whole outline live. I might not. I might do about half of it and then skip. Um, I don't remember if I do this whole thing live or not. But I know after this, when we start detailing the flooring and everything, we're gonna do sections of it and skip ahead. But so far, we're definitely looking pretty good. Now, what's really going to be cool, what this won't be until later on because this is something I actually just did recently, is when we start working on the secondary inner circular corridors, because um, the area that I have my current corridors, I really only have enough room to do 2 decks in them. Um, the only other way to get around that would have been to either make the bottom of my ship thicker or the top of it thicker. And I've already proportioned out the whole build, and I just decided at this point, like, I'm just going to stick with 2 on the outer ring. But with that being said, we are going to be coming back and adding in the secondary circular corridor, which is going to end up being 3 decks. And I think when everything's said and done, counting the main 3 decks that we're going to have, and then also the very belly bottom of the saucer, which would be which technically wouldn't be a deck, but I'm going to count it as one anyway. The captain's yacht, that would be 4, and then if we go up from our top deck that we have already pre-built, that would technically be deck 4 at this point. Um, from there we have our shuttle bay deck, which is 5, and then above that is our bridge, which would be deck 6. So not too shabby. 6 decks just for the saucer section, which I think is the most I've done on any ship so far. But I think the real Enterprise D, I think I had like maybe like 10 to 15 decks just in the saucer section alone or something like that. I'm probably way off on that number. It could even I know it's not like 24 decks or anything like that because I'm pretty sure the Enterprise E had a total of 24 decks. So I think we're the Enterprise D on the saucer section. It probably had like anywhere between like 12 to 14 maybe. But point is that we're definitely not going to be building something that's that close to, because like I said, we scaled this thing down a little bit. I think I actually built out my Enterprise D the maximum size that I could have, where it's all in render distance, and I honestly I got just completely lucky with that. When I built out the proportions of the ship, I just took an educated guess on the size that I should do the initial ring in to try to keep everything within render distance. And my main reason for doing that is that once we went bigger than this size, then proportion issues start coming in because there's just no way. And I've seen bigger versions of the Enterprise D in Minecraft, but once you start getting, bigger than this and closer to what the full scale Enterprise D is, you are going to run into proportion issues because there's just going to be no way to gauge the size of the saucer to the lower hull to the engines to see everything together. And yeah, you can check it piece by piece, but the only way that you can really do that is by comparing all the sections of the ship from the neck to the saucer to the lower hull to the pylons to the nacelles. That's the only way that you can really do it and do it justice. So I think that I made the right call here to do that. Not only that, if we would have went bigger too, it would have started to become a lot more difficult to fill in what we're going to have to fill in on this ship, and it's already going to be difficult as it is. But I'm really trying to make a point to utilize some of the extra space that we have available here to have some giant, ginormous structures on the interior. So this way, when we're going through the ship, it has a little bit more of that wow factor, and you feel like you're on a larger ship. Um, like if you go on, I think like a great example of that, like if you go to the Disco era Enterprise and you start walking through that ship, it doesn't necessarily feel like a huge ship, nor should it, because the Enterprise from the original series never felt like a huge ship. Now, like when you go over to the Cerritos and you come in through the shuttle bay, definitely feels like a bigger ship because the shuttle bay gives you that feeling of scale. And that's going to be something that you're going to see a lot more in here. Now, there are going to be like certain areas where like I'm not going to like make things over the top just for the sake of doing it, and where um, we've already got material to go off of, I'm going to stay true to it. So, like an example, engineering. The main engineering area that you always saw in the show, I'm going to pretty much build that to like I think when it's all said and done, we're going to end up at like 98, 97% accuracy. There's going to be one or two variations. But even with that, there's like just tiny, tiny things I did to just accentuate what we currently have to maybe make it look a little bit better. And you'll see what I mean once we get into that. But then there's going to be other sections of engineering that they never showed. And that's going to be our opportunity to where, okay, we can maybe do some things here and there to make things feel just a little bit more over the top than what we got to see in the show for whatever reason. Well, you know what the reason is? They didn't have the money or the budget to do it. But we can do all that stuff in Minecraft. And a lot of that's just going to come down to creativity and just doing research. What I've been doing over the course of this build is I've just been looking up ship interiors, and you'd be surprised what you can find on the internet. You really would. Just go on Google and just start searching Star Trek ship interiors and get specific. Look up whether it's crew quarters or entertainment areas or, in this case, engineering decks. There's so many people. DeviantArt, you find a lot of stuff on there. When I search through Google, I find a lot of stuff that shows up from that site. And there's a lot of people that they just have all this fan art that they've done of all they're pretty much like their fantasy ships. Um, but what's great about that is it can give you a lot of inspiration on what to do with this ship, because there's just going to be no way to get around it, that there's going to be so many areas on this ship that we're just going to have to fill in the gaps, because um, this is going to be a pretty difficult ship to do. Like the Disco Enterprise and the Enterprise A were probably like the easiest ones I've ever had to do. And the reason for that is because we've got 4 seasons of TOS, or no, 3 seasons of the original series, if four if you count the animated, and then you've got the 6 movies, and then you've got 3 more movies with the Kelvin timeline. So you've got all that content out of different iterations of the Enterprise that we can use to kind of blend together to make that ship. Now with the Enterprise D, there's 7 seasons of it, but a lot of those seasons, you see a lot of the same rooms over and over again. You don't really see too many variations of new um, rooms on the ship. So that's where this opportunity is going to come in, where we can have a little bit of creativity. But I also, and I've talked about this before too, that we're going to be using some concept art from Star Trek Online, and also some concept art from Star Trek: The Next Generation. Just never made it into the show. And when we get a little bit closer in doing the interior, I'll pull that website up that I used, because I did say I was going to do that. And I think when we do the mall, I'll pull that up, because I think it would be relevant at that point to do it, because that was one of the things that I used from the concept art. But we're really rocking here. Getting back a little bit what I got going on, you can see I'm doing all 4 sides at once, and I'm really just trying to bang this out and build this out live. And then after this, we've got our first initial ring done. We're just going to be doing sections. We'll get a lot done today. It's probably not going to seem like we're going to get a lot done based on the speed that we're currently doing this at, but we will. You'll probably be surprised with the amount of work that we're going to end up getting done today. I think we're actually going to finish up our lower corridors with an exception of doing the straightaway ones. I think that's the only thing that we're not going to get to today for the straightaway lower section. All right, so far we're looking pretty good. Got a couple more rows to do to bang that out. Haven't really had too many people in the comments section asking for help lately on this build, which is probably a good thing because I've really been trying to take people's comments to heart when people either get lost or they're having problems. Um, and don't be afraid to tell me because, I will do what I can to help you. And not only that, this gives me stuff to talk about in my episodes. And it also gives me the opportunity to maybe approach what I'm doing from somebody else's point of view. So if you are getting stuck and you need help, don't be afraid to ask. I'm always usually pretty responsive in the comments section, and I'll try to help you out as much as I can, as long as you're nice about it. If you go outside of that realm, then I'm probably just not going to respond to you. But I will say that 99.5% of the people that I meet and talk to on the channel, everybody's very polite and very, very nice and very, very encouraging. It's actually been kind of surprising to see how fast my channel has grown in just over the year that I've been doing these videos. Started out at just over, I think it was either just under or just over 100 subscribers, and within just over the year of doing these videos, I'm just shy of 600. Um, I might start talking about this more, but I kind of want to do something to maybe once we get to 1,000, because I've been talking about doing this, and it's something that I am 100% going to do because those of you that have been following me since the beginning probably recall at one point or another that I was going to do a tutorial for the Enterprise A refit. And I think I don't remember exactly what happened at that time, but I had stuff going on in life. I never got around to doing it. Well, if and when we do hit 1,000 subscribers, I think that would be an appropriate time to do a tutorial on the 2000 and or excuse me, the 2016 Star Trek Beyond Enterprise A. So when we hit 1,000 subscribers, you can guarantee I'm going to do that. But until then, it's not like I'm going to stop doing videos. If anything, I'll be doing more videos. But there's a lot of other ships that I want to do other than a Constitution class. But when we hit that number, it would be maybe a good idea to pan back to that ship and actually do a tutorial for it, because out of all the ships that I have done in the past, um, that's the number one ship that I get asked by people to do a tutorial for, that I've already uh, built on Minecraft, but I never actually did the tutorial for it. I did the mock Enterprise, but I never did a full scale tutorial for it. So definitely keep an eye out for that and watch my numbers grow, because once we hit 1,000, we're going to do it. And I'm going to keep talking about it. So hopefully, as new people are hopping into the channel and they're seeing the stuff that I got going on, you get an idea of some of the things that will be coming up. We've got Voyager coming up too, if and when that may or may not be the next build that I do. But again, hint, hint, those of you that are anxious to get the Voyager will probably be very happy with what my next build on here is going to be. But right now, we're just focused on the Enterprise D and getting this thing to where it needs to be. But so far, I'm pretty happy with the progress that we're making, but we are 50 episodes into this thing, which is kind of crazy because on every other build that I've done so far, um, I've been a lot further along than we are presently on the Enterprise D. But again, that's just completely down to the scale of this thing, just taking an extra amount of time just to get all this done. But I'm hoping that by the time everything's said and done, that I'll have a really just kick-ass build, and that's what I'm going for. I've always found on Minecraft that when you take your time and plan things out, you're way more likely to get a better result than you are if you just rush through it. So that's one of the things I really try to take to heart on this build, because I spent so much time working on the Enterprise D. I want to get it right. I'd say I made a mistake somewhere as opposed to left and right side here, so that's why you can see I'm counting out again. I think what ended up happening was that I still had the template for my original ring, and I went off that instead of just building on what was directly above me. And that's one of the reasons why I told you guys to make sure that you build what you have directly above you. So this way, you don't go and make the same mistake that I just made right here. This is not necessarily a huge deal because we can fix it. And I'm going to show you what you can do to fix it rather than just building the whole thing. This initial line right here, we're just going to move it back by one. Because everything else matches up just fine. And it's not going to mess up this portion of the build whatsoever. And to be honest with you, if I hadn't said anything, may not have noticed. Maybe one or two people might have noticed, but it's very, very minor. Kind of what I'm getting at here. And the other two sides, those are right, so I'm not really going to worry about that too much. All right, so now we've got our ring done. We're going to move on to the next portion of the build. We're going to do our straightaway access point, or X access, because this is essentially going to be a template for or straightaway corridors. And I'm just going to bring it up to the first line because the reason I'm not going any further than that blue line right here, the builder line that we have going straight up and down, is because I'm not 100% sure what's going to encompass that center. I know that the mall is going to end up going in that area. And I determined that based off the concept art I was able to find off the Enterprise D. I will admit that I didn't find a blueprint with the mall, but when I saw that there was concept art for it, and this was a section of the ship that had it, I just decided to run with it because this is going to be a pretty big section chunk of the ship, and I just thought it would be so unique and cool if the Enterprise D did in fact have that. Um, I'm not going to lie, even before I did it, I was even considering if I should even do them all, considering the fact when you consider the fact that in the next generation they had replicators, so why would you even need a mall when you can just replicate anything that you could possibly want? But you know what? We're not going to uh, consider logic involved in this. We're just going to build it out. Now, this is again before I had decided on the color palette for my corridor floors. So the two rows of white concrete, we're going to do those in blue. And the white terracotta, we're going to leave that in the very dead center row here. That's gray. We're going to be swapping that out for cyan. And then after we do that, we're going to come back with another row of the gray concrete on either side of the white terracotta here. And we've got a template for a floor. And we're going to do that going all the way around. Excuse me, we're going to be doing that going all the way around the outline here. All right, now we're going to skip ahead. We're move on to the next section. On this outer side, we're going to do a row of half slabs. See, I told you, it didn't seem like we're going to get a lot done, but we are because we're going to be doing this in sections, and this is going to go very, very quick. And behind that half slabs, we're going to do white terracotta. And then on this side, we're going to do a full block. The second row, we're going to do that in gray, concrete. Even though that's not what I'm doing there, trust me, if you want to have exactly what I'm going to end up with, I'm just trying to save you a little bit of time. So I'm just jumping up here to really quick just to do a quick refresher on what I did. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're not sure on what you did, just go back and double check. All right, now on top of this row of half slabs, we're going to do a row of the gray concrete. And every single step I'm doing here, you want to make sure that you complete a full lap around your ring. I'm just building out a section of this, so this way we can get a little bit more done today. All right, now on the inner side, we're going to go up one with a cut, This way there's a lip going in of the gray concrete, and we're going to be doing this going all the way around. And then on the inside, we're going to do white terracotta going one in. This way there's a lip on the outside, up and in one. Well, make sure you mind your cuts there. All right, so far we're in pretty good shape. We're going to come back on the top side, that white terracotta, and we're going to do half slabs. Then we're going to do the same thing on this side, half slabs. All right. And now the top here where I'm doing white terracotta, you're going to want to do that with the gray concrete instead of the white terracotta. And the same thing on this side. I'm doing white terracotta, but use gray concrete. And once you do that, the dead center, that's going to be sea lanterns, and that'll be your light source. Once you do that and you go complete a full lap, you'll have your second row of corridors completed. And the only thing left to do at that point is to cut out your hallway doors. I'll make sure we add a row of pillars on every entrance just to give it some shape. And then we need to do our cuts in the floor. And you want to do this for every single straightaway access point, because these would be considered our main hallways. See, just like that, with a little bit of editing, we've got our second row of corridors completely built out. All right. So I think that's going to wrap us up today. We've got a considerable amount done this week. Didn't think that we are going to get this far with the corridors, but I'm glad that I was able to get the second ones done. So this way we can move along a little bit, because now that we're done with this was one of the hardest sections to do on the saucer section, and now we can start closing that up and getting the rest of the outside of the ship done, so this way we can focus more on the inside. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. And if you did enjoy this content, please help me out and hit that like, subscribe button. It can't help you enough, or can't thank you enough in helping me and supporting the channel. And new subscribers, don't forget to hit notifications on so you get notified when those new videos drop, as we make our way toward possibly hitting 1,000 subscribers and starting a tutorial at some point on the Enterprise A once we hit 1,000. You can always catch my new Minecraft videos dropping Tuesdays through Thursdays. Yeah. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. I hope everybody has a happy and safe weekend. And I'll catch you on the next episode. What did you all build this week? What did you all work on and make? All right. Catch you on the next one.